is up, and welcome to a very special midterm edition of Brett's Bets, produced by Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. As you know, this is where we pick winners in a handful of college football matchups each week to prove our expertise. We use gambling spreads and terminology, but we don't condone gambling, particularly if it's not legal where you live, because we are not built for prison. But you know who is? Politicians. So we have some extra special politicians here today to help us pick games. Game number one, we've got Iowa State hitting the road to take on, Jesus help us, it is Oklahoma State again. Oklahoma State coming off back-to-back blowout losses. This one is Saturday at 3:30 on ESPNU. Iowa State favored by 1.5. To help us pick this game, we are honored to have everybody's favorite tall building hater, former President George W. Bush.
Howdy. So the pick here, we're going to go Oklahoma State. There's an old saying in Oklahoma, and I know it's in Texas, probably in Oklahoma. Fool me once, shame on you. You fool me, you can't get fooled again. And Mike Gundy, you're not going to fool me a third time. So we've picked Oklahoma State 2 weeks in a row, lost them both. The thinking was Mike Gundy in these small spread games, spreads between 3.5, one way or the other. Mike Gundy is 14-5 since 2016 in these games, and that's counting them 2 losses. Now, this week, not only do we get this situation again, we get Iowa State, Matt Campbell. He is 5-16 in games where the spread's between 3.5. So I'm getting Mike Gundy, who's good in this situation, and I'm getting Matt Campbell for Iowa State, who's bad in this situation. I can't get fooled again, is what I'm saying. Oklahoma State is the pick.
Wow, you had a much better grasp on math than I could have ever imagined. All right, so moving on, we've got game number 2, number 15, North Carolina, led by sneaky Heisman candidate Drake May, taking on Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons are at home and favored by 3.5 points. This one Saturday, 7:30, ESPN2. To help us with this pick, we have former presidential candidate Howard Dean.
All right, the pick is Wake Forest. We're getting tremendous value on Wake Forest. They have had 11 turnovers the last 2 weeks. Lost both games. If not for that, they'd be a huge favorite over North Carolina right here. North Carolina, you look at their record, you think they're good. No, they're not good. The only competitive team they've played is Notre Dame. Got blew out at home. Horribly coached team. Gene Chizik sucks. Wake Forest, very good coach team. We love Wake Forest. We love the value they're getting. They'd be over a touchdown favorite right here. If not for the 11 turnovers the last 2 weeks. Will they turn it over 11 times this week? We don't know. But we're gonna trust Wake Forest. We're gonna trust Dave Clawson. We're gonna trust offensive coordinator Warren Ruggiero. And look, Wake Forest will win this game by 2 scores. And then they're gonna go to Syracuse and they're gonna win. And then they're going to go to Durham, and they're going to win. And then they're going to go to the Holiday Bowl in San Diego, and they're going to win.
Yeah, indeed. All right, for game number 3, number 25, Washington is taking on number 6, Oregon, as they try to sneak into the college football playoff. Oregon favored by 13.5. This one, Saturday night, 7 p.m. on Fox. To help with this game, we have everyone's favorite socialist mitten wearer, Mr. Bernie Sanders.
Hello. So, Bernie Sanders will not often be associated with the billionaires and the trillionaires, as you know. But this time, for once, I'm going to join the billionaires and trillionaires at Nike, and we're going Oregon. So, look, records are similar, but you got to look a little deeper. Oregon's only loss was to Georgia, and it was eye-opening when it happened. But now we see what Georgia is. You can't let this bother you. It was the first game of the Dan Lanning era. We don't care that Oregon lost 49-3. Washington, similar record, only lost one more game. However, they're barely scraping by. Off a bye last week, still barely scraped by a pitiful Oregon State team. Washington, not as good as the record indicates. Oregon, perhaps even better than their record indicates. 13.5-point favorite, huge, huge spread. However, we're willing to lay it. Washington can't stop anybody. In Oregon, Heisman candidate Bo Nix at quarterback. Dan Lanning, Georgia defensive coordinator last year. He'll figure out a way to stop Washington a few times. That's all it'll take because Oregon's going to score every time they touch the ball. Oregon covers the spread. Ducks, quack. Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. That's the best I've seen your hair look in quite some time. All right, it is time for our pick of the week. This is our Coffee pick of the week. We have Clemson trying to bounce back from a blowout loss that I enjoyed thoroughly to Notre Dame last week, taking on Louisville in Clemson Saturday, 3:30 on ESPN. The Tigers are favored by a touchdown. To help us out with this pick, we have the man, the myth, the asshole, Mr. Donald J. Trump.
All right. The pick is Louisville. Louisville Cardinals. Papa John, no longer there. Still the right side. Look, Dabo is a loser. Defeated Dabo, we call him. After Notre Dame last week, defeated Dabo. People thought that Dabo would pick right up when he lost his assistants. Wrong. Louisville is on fire. They've won 4 in a row, playing great defense. Scott Satterfield is a fine offensive coach. Malik Cunningham at quarterback, not quite Lamar Jackson, but still very good. We think they'll score enough points at Clemson, and we think that defense will be very solid. DJ, you cannot throw the ball. Cade Klubnik, loser. Played 2 plays last week, threw a pick, loser. Clemson is done. The bubble is burst. It's over. We love Louisville, just like we love this great country.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Trump. Can't say that I'm too upset that Clemson won't be enjoying cold McDonald's in the White House after this season. But there you have it. All right. Well, that will do it for this week's Brett's Bets. On behalf of the former presidents that we got to see, thanks for showing up today. And I am your host, Brandon Silvers. We will catch y'all next week.